Why do the forgotten thrillers of the 1960s still make our pulse race faster than today's CGI blockbusters? Beneath the era's flower power facade, a darker cinema brewed, one where killers lurked in neon alleys, memories fractured like broken mirrors, and every cigarette curl hinted at betrayal. These 15 neo-noir shockwaves didn't just entertain, they rewired how audiences felt about innocence, identity, and the thin line between watching and sinning. Dim the lights, lean in, and let each title pull you deeper into shadow. Don't forget to hit subscribe before the smoke clears. Number 15. Blast of Silence, 1961. Frankie Bono steps off a train into a New York Christmas that feels like purgatory. His suitcase hides a rifle and orders to erase a mid-level mobster before the church bells toll. Alan Barron's Gorilla Lens prowls alleys crusted with dirty snow, while Lionel Stander's second-person narration rasps accusation. You are the killer. You feel the cold. We shadow Frankie past flickering neon and toy shop windows stuffed with innocence he can never claim. The closer he edges toward his mark, the more the city itself whispers doubts, until a chance reunion with a childhood friend cracks his ice-armored heart. No cops, no redemption, just a ticking clock, a swamp jazz score, and the certainty that the streets will swallow him if he hesitates. 1961 audiences weren't ready for a noir that implicated every spectator. Critics sneered existential pulp, yet midnight crowds adopted it as scripture. Future auteurs from Scorsese to Tarantino took notes. Watch it once, and December nights never glimmer the same. That final shot, snow swirling around an anonymous dock, clings to memory like frostbite. And this is only our opening shot. Brace yourself, truly. Number 14. The Naked Kiss, 1964. Samuel Fuller opens with a prostitute beating her pimp with a stiletto heel, the camera so close you taste the sweat. 2 years later, she arrives in prim Grantville, determined to scrub out her old life. She nurses sick children, townsfolk smile, yet Fuller paints every lace curtain with dread, ringing a hidden bell whenever a man's gaze lingers too long on her spotless white uniform. Falling for Grantville's Golden Bachelor seems like salvation until a single, sickening discovery flips the film from small-town melodrama to nightmare. Interiors resemble dollhouses invaded by shadow. Outside, fog rolls off the river like whispered gossip. Viewers in '64 gasped at its collision of taboo and tenderness. Labeled sleaze by censors, it became a feminist scream in grindhouse backrooms. Is the heroine's final act damnation or the purest rescue? Fuller leaves the kiss stripped of illusion, blistering the lips of anyone who dares watch. The next film asks how far a father will go under a porch light he can't trust. Number 13. Cape Fear, 1962. Thunder rattles the Carolina marshes as Max Cady saunters back into lawyer Sam Bowden's life, cigar clamped between teeth, filed by prison rage. Bowden thinks fences and porch lights can shield his wife and child. Director J. Lee Thompson laughs at that illusion, composing duels of silhouettes, black shapes drifting outside bedroom windows like finned predators. Cady masters every legal loophole, forcing Bowden to trade his moral compass for blunt force. Each time police shrug, "Nothing we can do," the camera pushes into Bowden's sweat-sheened brow, daring us to see how long we'd stay righteous. Bernard Herrmann's score shrieks like carnival music dragged through a swamp, and by the houseboat showdown, thunder feels merciful beside Cady's lazy drawl. Audiences left theaters checking over shoulders. The idea that evil could operate within the rules burned itself into vigilante thrillers for decades. Think you've heard Cady's footsteps fade? The next movie twists the knife by making the killer's smile almost sympathetic. After all, what if the monster's voice sounds eerily like your own conscience? Number 12. The Killers, 1964. Don Siegel's remake hits running, literally, as professional gunmen Lee Marvin and Clu Gulager stride into a school for the blind to finish a job that greets them calmly. Why would a man welcome death? That riddle drags us through racetracks, neon motels, and a velvet-gloved femme fatale played by Angie Dickinson. Johnny North spirals from asphalt glory to criminal eclipse, while a future president, Ronald Reagan in his last film role, pulls strings from the shadows. Siegel films daylight gunfights so stark you flinch at each muzzle flash. Marvin delivers Noir's coldest line, "Lady, I don't have the time," before striking a woman and silencing theaters nationwide. With television threatening cinema, The Killers proved the big screen could still bruise America's psyche. Its abrupt circular ending leaves audiences staring at their own reflections, wondering who's number 11, The Manchurian Candidate, 1962. Long before gaslighting trended, John Frankenheimer weaponized memory itself. Korean war hero Raymond Shaw returns with a medal and eyes that never focus. Fellow POW Bennett Marco wakes nightly in a sweat, certain their captivity hides a darker truth. We soon learn Shaw has been rewired into an assassin whose trigger isn't a gun, but a single playing card. Angela Lansbury's iron-smiling mother directs the nightmare with maternal venom, turning patriotism, family, and Freudian dread into one poison cocktail. Hotel corridors become mirrors, press conferences, sick jokes, and the convention hall finale a cathedral of manipulated applause. Released weeks before the Cuban Missile Crisis, the film felt less like fiction than tomorrow's headline. Shelved after JFK's assassination, it re-emerged a decade later, mythologized and sharper than ever. Today, it stings harder. Who owns the thoughts in your head, and how loudly can a crowd cheer while democracy flatlines? One Queen of Diamonds made paranoia elegant. Now let's plunge from cold politics back to cold steel. Number 10, Point Blank, 1967. A single gunshot echoes through the shuttered cells of deserted Alcatraz, but the bullet can't kill Walker's fury. John Boorman films Lee Marvin as a vengeful phantom, stone-faced, almost unkillable, marching across the plastic glamour of mid-60s Los Angeles. Betrayed by his partner and his wife during a money drop, Walker claws back to daylight, laser-focused on the exact $93,000 they stole. Yet the organization he confronts is no Bogart-era mob. It's a faceless corporate hydra hidden in mirrored high-rises. The plot fractures like memory. Flashbacks slam into present tense, color drains to monochrome, gunshots dissolve into ringing silences, until time feels as warped as Walker's soul. Viewers in '67 reeled at the experimental editing. Younger directors devoured it, birthing an entire school of fractured crime cinema. Every step Marvin takes seems to ask, when a man becomes pure revenge, is he even alive? Keep that question burning as we fly to Paris, where honor wears a gray fedora. Number 9, Le Samouraï, 1967. Jeff Costello's Paris apartment could be a monk's cell, birdcage, trench coat, Colt M 1934, nothing else. Jean-Pierre Melville opens on a still life so quiet you hear the metro rattle 6 blocks away. Jeff lives by an unwritten code: steal a car, take a contract, leave no trace, until a nightclub pianist witnesses his latest hit. As police tighten an invisible noose, underworld bosses decide loose ends must vanish. Melville films rain-slick boulevards in slate blues and gunmetal grays, neon strobes across windshields like police strobes in slow motion. Dialogue is minimalist, every word feels paid for in blood, so the silence itself becomes percussion. French critics hailed an existential haiku. American audiences discovered a coolness later echoed by Drive and John Wick. But beneath the zen precision lies dread. A man obsessed with perfect exits may sentence himself to the loneliest death imaginable. Next, we'll see killers who refuse loneliness because they exist in mirrored pairs. Number 8, In Cold Blood, 1967. Black and white cinematography turns Kansas wheat fields into moonlit tundra. Perry Smith and Dick Hickok drift across America chasing a rumor of hidden cash, and Richard Brooks makes sure we feel every restless mile. When they invade the Clutter farmhouse, violence erupts off-screen. Brooks trusts imagination to brand deeper than gore. The film follows them afterward, peeling back bravado to reveal childhood scars, half-baked dreams, and the aching need to be seen. Stark narration lifted straight from Truman Capote's reportage indicts not just the killers, but the machinery that created them. By the time the noose creaks, the camera lingers on raindrops, sliding down a window like glass tears, demanding viewers question whether justice or tragedy just unfolded. The Motion Picture Association balked at its rawness. Audiences couldn't look away, spawning true crime obsessions that still grip streaming charts. Our next film shows a different nightmare, where the chance to start over is the cruelest trap of all. Number 7. Seconds, 1966. What if a secret corporation could erase your middle-aged disappointment and sell you a brand new life? Banker Arthur Hamilton signs the dotted line and wakes up as Rock Hudson, bohemian painter in sun-drenched Malibu. But John Frankenheimer shoots the dream with paranoid wide-angle lenses, turning garden parties into fish-eye funhouse mirrors. Surgery scars throb beneath turtlenecks. Neighbors smile a beat too long. Whispers in locked halls hint that every reborn client shares the same looming expiration date. Jerry Goldsmith's atonal score drills into the skull, and James Wong Howe's stark cinematography makes even California light feel surgical. Premiered at Cannes, Seconds unnerved critics who sensed it flayed America's youth cult before it fully formed. Today, its questions sting sharper. How many filters and identities can we buy before the mirror demands payment? One more identity shift awaits, a cop who chases truth so hard the city melts around him. Number 6. Bullet, 1968. Steve McQueen's Lieutenant Frank Bullitt barely speaks. His gaze does the talking, cool, alert, waiting for San Francisco to reveal which alley hides the next betrayal. Assigned to guard a mob informer, Bullitt instead witnesses the man's brutal silencing and resolves to unmask the political power behind it. Peter Yates wires cameras to Mustang and Charger bumpers, birthing the modern car chase as bullet rockets over Russian Hill crests, engines echoing like distant artillery. Yet between tire squeals, Yates lingers on Bullitt's cramped apartment, his silent breakfast with a bruised girlfriend, moments of humanity that make the violence hit harder. Viewers felt city asphalt under their seats. Future thrillers copied every gear shift. But the film's quiet thesis endures. In a world of ruthless image makers, the last honest man may be the one who never advertises himself. Hold that thought while headlights fade. The top 5 descend soon, where innocence burns like matchtips in thickest fog. Number 5. Pretty Poison, 1968. Dennis Pitt leaves a Massachusetts asylum convinced he can reinvent himself as a secret agent. When he meets high school drum majorette Sue Ann, her baton twirling under carnival lights looks like pure Americana, until she asks how many missions he's planning tonight. Noel Black paints small-town diners and forest backroads in dusky reds, every soda fountain smile hiding something feral. Dennis believes he's spinning a harmless fantasy. Sue Ann believes she's finally found a doorway out of boredom, and she'll step over any corpse that blocks it. Their first accidental killing feels almost playful. The second proves she's the true strategist. Audiences expecting light comedy, Fox marketed it that way, staggered out whispering about teenage sociopaths wearing prom dresses. The film bombed but metastasized on late-night TV, mutating into a cult text referenced by Heathers and natural-born killers. When Susan says, "You have to use the right bait," she's talking about boys, parents, and viewers alike. Up next, a skyscraper labyrinth where every corridor erases the man who walks it. Number 4. Mirage, 1965. Blackout plunges a midtown office tower into darkness, and accountant David Stilwell emerges to streets he no longer recognizes. Edward Dmytryk shoots nighttime Manhattan as a canyon of mirrored glass. Each reflection mocks David's fragmenting mind. He remembers no war service, yet strangers salute him. He recalls no research project, yet assassins demand the formula he's supposedly hidden. Gregory Peck lets panic seep through his patrician calm, while Walter Matthau, playing a private eye who charges by the minute, maps a conspiracy powered by corporate greed and Cold War paranoia. As elevators ascend, memories descend, revealing an eco-weapon capable of vaporizing entire coastlines. 1,965 audiences, jittery after the Cuban Missile Crisis, squirmed at the notion that one man's amnesia could doom the planet. Mirage birthed a subgenre, the hunted protagonist who solves himself before he solves the crime. Just when Stillwell believes daylight will save him, the next film drenches Times Square in neon filth, prowled by a killer in white briefs. Number 3. Who Killed Teddy Bear? 1965. When nightclub hostess Nora walks home through Hell's Kitchen, obscene phone calls follow like wet footprints. Joseph Cates shoots pavement glistening with rain and sweat. Times Square marquees flicker "Girls, Girls, Girls" in sickly pink. Sal Mineo stalks as Lawrence, a record store clerk who pumps iron under a bare bulb and repeats the same scratch disco track until it sounds like a heartbeat. Detective Dave Madden obsesses over Nora's safety, yet photographs her trembling lips for evidence, protection morphing into voyeurism. The movie violates 60s taboos, incest hints, BDSM imagery, and grindhouse grit years before Taxi Driver. Mainstream critics recoiled, but underground audiences felt it naming what polite society repressed. Today, its raw sexuality and queer undercurrent vibrate through every neo-noir from Cruising to Drive. As Nora kicks shattered glass from her hallway, she whispers, more to herself than the camera, "I won't be afraid anymore." Our penultimate film shows why watching can be deadlier than any blade. Number 2. Peeping Tom, 1960. Mark Lewis lugs a tripod through London's gaslit alleys, renting rooms by the hour to film women's final screams. Michael Powell, once Britain's most venerated director, forces us inside the killer's viewfinder. Every murder unfolds through Mark's lens, so the audience becomes unwilling accomplice. Mark impales victims with a dagger concealed in the camera's leg, recording their terror as a perfect study of fear. Research begun when his scientist father filmed the boy sleeping, sobbing, breaking. Powell drenches basement darkrooms in radioactive reds like photographic chemicals eating through celluloid. Premiere critics branded the film evil, destroying Powell's career. Yet future filmmakers from Scorsese to Del Toro cite it as gospel. The mirror Mark aims at each dying face asks the ugliest question. If horror lies in the act of seeing, are we guilty the moment we buy a ticket? One British newspaper begged censors to burn every print. Luckily they failed, or Hitchcock's next masterpiece might never have dared slice so deep. Number 1. Psycho, 1960. Rain lashes Marion Crane's windshield as she flees Phoenix with 40 grand and a head full of escape plans. She ducks into Bates Motel, greeted by shy, bird taxidermy-loving Norman. Alfred Hitchcock fractures narrative rules the way Norman's knife fractures shower steam. The heroine dies halfway, the slash cuts mimic tachycardia, and Bernard Herrmann's screeching strings skewer nerves like fishhooks. Hitchcock deploys noir shadows. Parlor lamps throw talon shapes on taxidermied owls before revealing Mother's mummified grin, her rocking chair creaking like a guilty conscience. 1960 audiences screamed, then cued again, obeying theater signs that barred late entry. Psycho birthed the modern spoiler, the slasher blueprint, and the concept of weekend box office mania. Showers became interrogation rooms where every droplet threatened to slip red. 6 decades later, satellite dishes and streaming menus still can't mute the sound of that drain gurgling secrets. And somewhere beyond Route 66, a neon vacancy sign flickers, inviting the next traveler into shadows we now realize will never end. Your breath steady? We've walked through 15 corridors of smoke-soaked dread, each film sharpening the knife for the next. Hit play, dim the lights, and let these 60s neo-noirs prove that terror ages like fine bourbon, darker, smoother, and far more dangerous with time.